Welcome to the Turning Lemons into Lemonade podcast. Each week, your host, Amy Mewborn, business strategist and advisor, will bring you the stories of how successful women entrepreneurs turn their tragedies into triumphs to create the businesses that are changing the world today. And now, your host, Amy Mewborn.
Mollie Openshaw is the creative behind Mood Swing Wines. Originally, the intention was to uncork the conversations about menopause through a bottle of wine. I mean, who doesn't love wine? Now, Mood Swing Wines has given Mollie a platform to speak to women's audiences all around the globe. Mollie's motivational, high energy, and comedic relief have women's audiences falling off their seats while walking away from any event, feeling inspired and refreshed with a new zest for life. Mollie has a unique ability to empower any female audience. Motivational, inspirational, and always approachable, Mollie's shoot from the hip, tell it like it is attitude is a refreshing approach that allows her to authentically connect with women audiences of all ages. Mollie challenges women to celebrate each day of their life and gives them permission to poke fun at themselves every once in a while. If you're experiencing empty nest, midlife, or even menopause, Mollie doesn't stop there. She demonstrates to women of any age all the reasons to celebrate the life they have. Welcome, Mollie. Welcome, Mollie. I'm so glad you're here today. I'd like to have you start by telling us how you got started in your business.
Oh, thanks for having me, Amy. Well, it goes back 5 years already, which it's really hard to imagine that much time has gone by. It all started, and it's Mood Swing Wines. I'm sure you know that already. It all started with a girlfriend that I went to go visit, one of my best girlfriends, actually. I had gone to her home just to visit, and I know she was bombarded with, going back to school to get her RN. She was also going through a pretty nasty divorce, so there was a lot going on. But when I came through her door, Amy, she was like crying uncontrollably, and I'm like, oh my God, what the heck is wrong with you? Thinking the worst, that it was the divorce, and thinking it was perhaps all the books that were stacked in her room. It had nothing to do with that. She actually was crying, saying, I think I'm going through menopause. I'm like, oh my God, another thing, right? What do you mean you're going through menopause? I mean, she's 5 years younger. I'm like, we're going to have this conversation now. So what does a best friend do? They run to the store to go purchase a bottle of wine, because wine will make anybody happy, right? And as I'm scouring the shelves, I mean, row after row after row after row, any grocery store, I couldn't even find one that had a smile on its label, anything that would just make her laugh. Yeah. And I struggled with thinking on the whole way home. I'm like, well, we're just going to drink this bottle of wine. We're going to be talking about menopause, and she's going to be fine after this, right? Well, we talked through some issues that her mother had when she was going through menopause, and she really did have a lot of the signs and symptoms of menopause. So we, of course, drank the bottle of wine and talked about it, and I'm thinking, she's a wreck. I am never going to be like that when I go through menopause. There's just no way. Mm-hmm. But, when I got home and thought about it that night, I was like, wow, this is real, and she's younger than me, and I have not experienced any of the hot flashes, the mood swings, anything. And so it just kind of stuck with me for a while, how emotional she was, and I just kind of declared that that's not going to be me. But I thought more about the wine, that certainly there's got to be something out there that, a gift or something that another woman could give another woman going through menopause, and it would be something to laugh at, maybe poke fun at ourselves. And I really couldn't shake it. I went online, of course, with modern technology and access to the internet. There was nothing, Amy, nothing. I'm like, oh my gosh, well, I have a message to women everywhere that you're just going to embrace this. The symptoms really stink, but you've got to embrace your life nonetheless. And so the more that I thought about it, and the more that I meditated on it and prayed about it, I was being woke up in the middle of the night with these crazy ideas for a wine label and a message for women. And my girlfriends, including the one that was all crazy with menopause symptoms, took me to Maui for my 50th birthday. And I told them, I said, you guys, I've been thinking about this for the longest time. And I keep waking up with these names for wine, like Covers Off Chardonnay and Zenopause and Memory Lapse Merlot. Told them all about it. And they're like, this is such a really great idea. And you've got a message. You've always celebrated your life. This is an opportunity for you to share with women going through this. And so they gave me that encouragement along with some liquid encouragement while we were in Maui. And they said, do it. You're going to kick yourself in the butt if you don't. And I'm like, okay. So I marched home and met up with some marketing people and some friends of mine, and they pulled it off. And within a year I launched. It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing. And
Yeah.
you really kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of one of the things that as women, we kind of have this fear of what that's going to look like. I mean, I'm 42, and so hopefully I still have a little bit of time, but I had a stroke a number of years ago due to birth control. And so for me, when that time comes, I'll never be able to take hormones or anything else. And so it's one of those things that I've kind of thought, oh, I'm really not looking forward to that time in my life.
Yeah.
Our episode this week actually is Ladies Roadmap with Lana and Joe Jamie, and they're two women that are doing a podcast and really celebrating that next phase of life. So I'm going to make sure that I connect you guys and you guys can talk.
For sure.
You have a lot in common.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
So tell me, what have been some of the struggles? Because I mean, to take an idea from inception to then actually create a product, market a product, have inventory, things like that, that's not one of the easiest businesses to start. So how did it go?
Yeah. Well, I would say the first year working with the marketing team, it went very smooth. I was really surprised at how smooth it went. But the biggest struggle, because I never had any capital to start this business, and I work, full-time as a nurse in the process, the capital was a tricky part. I never gave consideration to investors or anybody that wanted to invest. Just the money I was making as a nurse was paying for, the trademarks and for the wine and for the label. And so that might have been like, if I had to kind of round it all out, that was the biggest struggle. But then life happens. I launched in January 5 years ago. But you know what? The biggest struggle is July. My son had a near fatal motorcycle accident. And so that took me off the radar for life, period. Mood swing, wines, everything. And my dedication was to take care of my son. He was in a coma. It was not a pretty picture. We really expected the worst. So that really kind of took me out of the game for a long time. But what I love, though, is that I am so blessed with such a big community of friends and family and people that follow Mood Swing Wines. We actually were going to be having 4 back-to-back showings of my friends. Menopause the Musical was coming to Chico. And Hunter had his accident on that Wednesday, and they were going to do a show Friday, Saturday, and 2 shows on Sunday. It went off without a hitch. I mean, I had such a strong community of friends that were not only praying for me and supporting us while we were in the hospital. My girlfriends just took the reins and just totally made sure that everybody at Menopause the Musical was taken care of. I mean, it's like they knew what to do, how to do it, who to talk to, and really rode the show. And I think without their support, obviously, I mean, Mood Swing Wines wouldn't be where it is. I've just been so lucky to have such a, if you will, a fan base and people that really support it. So people are always offering help. But so that took me out of the game the rest of the year. And the following year, very successful. But the pattern really, Amy, is just not having the investors, not having the capital. So I worked full time and still continue to, bring Mood Swing Wines to where it is today.
Yeah. Wow. That's really tough because anytime you're self-funding and you're self-funding over a period of time,
right,
you sometimes feel like the capital is actually kind of what's holding you back from the ability to grow. And I would say that almost all of us as business owners that have self-funded have gone through that at some point or another, where you're like, okay, well, I really need to do this to take my business to the next level, but I don't really have the capital without going into debt. And sometimes we're comfortable doing that, and sometimes we're not so comfortable doing that.
Yeah, I really didn't feel comfortable wanting to go into debt. It was uncomfortable. It really did sting at sometimes, but it's kind of like the old saying, robbing Peter to pay Paul. I mean, I'd work extra just to make another, whatever, just work extra hard to do something, because it's not just, slapping a label on a bottle of wine, having a great branding idea, what you want to do. The compliancy is so expensive. The labels are expensive. The wine making process is expensive. Then you have other cities and states that you want to have your wine available. So then you have to pay for their permits, their licenses, and the events that you travel to. It costs a lot of money. So I'm happy to say I'm not in debt, but it's just catching up, by not having that capital.
So tell me, what have been some of the things that you attribute your growth in your business to? Knowing that you were self-funding and that you're doing events and everything, what would you say have been some of the things that have helped you grow, or the support that you've had?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's the very person that I am. I am a go-getter. I'm a mover and a shaker. I do not let that grass grow between my toes. If I want something, I go out for it. But I'm also very mindful of, if a door closes, there's a reason for it. I mean, it sounds so cliche sometimes when people say that, but to me, it is not cliche at all. I know that God has a plan and a purpose, and if that door shuts, there's a reason for it. And every time it does shut and another one opens, it's like, well, of course, it's duh. This was so made. This was meant to happen. Yeah. So I never question that. So, and we talked about the friends and the family. I am so incredibly blessed to have such amazing pods of friends and family that support what I do. I mean, and the one thing that's really important that women should know that are listening is that if you have a need, voice it. You might not be that one capable of meeting that need, but if you voice it, there's always somebody like, oh my gosh, I know the perfect person. Of course, let me do this for you, or let me get this person for you. There's so much truth to that, and but we have to get out of that fear of asking. There's so many women that are stuck, like, oh, I could never ask for that. Oh yeah, you could. There might be somebody out there that really could do that for you. So that's the exciting part. So that's another contributing factor.
That's huge. And I'm so glad that you said it, because as women, we feel like we should have to do it all, and that we should be the one taking care of everyone else. And we're often deathly afraid to ask for support ourselves, when as women, as a community, we all want to help each other. And if we just knew how to do that, often we would open Rolodexes and roll out the red carpet to actually share ideas. And it's one of the reasons I wanted to do the podcast in the first place, is I really wanted to bring together the conversations that I felt like a lot of times we weren't having. We're putting everything on social media and making everything look amazing. And we're not actually saying, you know what, it was a really crappy month. Or, I'm going through something with my family and it caused me to actually shut down my business for the month or for an extended period of time. And, the thing is, when you are your business and you're first launching and something happens with a son or a family member and you have to basically pull everything back, that's a lot. You've invested into launching a business, and then all of a sudden life changes.
And one more thing too, I was going to add too, is my mother had always said, if you're not good at somebody, find somebody that's good at it. And I know one thing for sure, I've never liked, when I write checks, I just write checks. I don't balance. I don't do anything. And thank God for my executive assistant. That's the one person that I invested money in, and a total faith of, she juggles everything. When I have airfare and I've got to do this, that, and the other thing, she'll, again, rob Peter to pay Paul. She knows exactly where everything is. And she's a lifesaver. I honestly, I don't look at my books. I look at my books at year end and just be grateful that I get to do the things that I get to do. And she's just amazing. She's amazing. She keeps me in tow.
As a finance girl, I'm thinking, no, you must look at your books.
Okay, I might exaggerate a little bit, but I seriously, really on a daily, I mean, I couldn't do that, Amy. That's just so, it stresses me out beyond belief. And I just don't want to have that because I want to just continue to keep my joy and to celebrate every day. So that would keep me from celebrating and having joy every day.
I totally and completely understand. And actually, even though I spent 15 years in finance, one of the first things that I did when I launched my own business was get a bookkeeper myself, because I knew that it was too hard to vacillate back and forth from the creative side of the business and the running of the business to actually being involved in the day-to-day finances of the business.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So tell me, what has been the absolute worst day that you've had in your business?
I guess the worst day is actually my son's motorcycle accident, because I was just on the cusp of so much excitement, and we had just had a huge release party. We had two big, huge chartered buses leaving our Chico area to a friend of mine. He has a winery in the Sacramento area, just coming back from that and being so pumped, and had great sales, and everybody bought t-shirts, and it was just a really big celebratory event. And then the motorcycle accident happened, and then, Menopause, the musical was coming. That was probably the worst day of my life, period. But it was all centered around this big launch and this big excitement. So that back in July, 5 years ago, was probably the worst day I had ever had with the business.
And are you still a nurse as well as running this business?
I left completely. So many people love my services as a nurse. I actually worked as a nurse consultant for a long-term care pharmacy. So when I did resign a corporate position that I had for many, many years this last summer, I get the phone calls, oh, you can't be leaving consulting altogether. You've got to come in our building. We need to be compliant. And so there are some clients that I've kept and negotiated contracts with them to work for them, to get them ready for their surveys and skilled nursing facilities. So I still dabble. And that's great, because that's another source of income that, really helps support, mood swing wines and the speaking engagements and all the stuff I'm doing. So, yeah.
Well, that is such a common thread, is that so often when we're getting ready to launch a business, most of us are already working in something, or we already have other obligations. And we launch our business kind of as a side hustle. And we're looking forward to that day where the side hustle becomes the business. And you kind of flipped it on its ear, where now Mood Swing Wines is your business, and the consulting has gone to be like your side hustle. So that's
I do. I like that side hustle. It's a little bit of security for me, a little bit of security.
Well, I think also for any of us that are like multi-passionate and really do kind of get a little bit of that shiny object syndrome, we like being able to switch gears in the course of a business week or a business day. For me, I actually theme my days, but I have different things that I do on different days in my business, because if I did the same thing every day, I would become just as bored in my business as I was in finance, 9 years ago. So,
right. And when I'm out consulting, I feel like a little bit of a celebrity, and I should bring, like a Sharpie pen and sign shirts, because everybody's like, oh my God, it's Mollie with Mood Swing Wines. It's like, no, it's Mollie. I'm your consultant today, but I'll sign your t-shirt. No, I feel like a bit of a celebrity when I show up to consult in different buildings, because some of these people I haven't seen for a long time, but they're following my Mood Swing Wines and my speaking journeys. And they're like, oh, I follow you. Oh my gosh, I'm stalking you. I'm like, okay, it's okay. So it's kind of fun to kind of mix it up a little bit.
Well, it's fun to see people that you know and love grow and have success in something that's theirs, all theirs.
Right.
So what would you say has been the number one resource in helping you grow your business?
The number one resource. I guess just having resources accessible to me. We go back to when I said just opening your mouth, asking you shall receive. I mean, I just have to verbalize what my needs are, and they always seem to be met. So that's just a resource there, just by opening my big mouth and telling people what I need or what I want to. I just reached out to a girlfriend today. We were trying to plan a girls' weekend. She and I, we worked at a Christian camp together back in 1983, and we've been friends ever since and see each other every once in a while. And when we were talking, she goes, you have a speaking engagement coming up in Newport Beach. Do you speak like all the time? I guess she didn't know that part of me. I said, I do. I said, I speak for a lot of people all around the United States. She goes, you have got to come and speak at our conference in Jacksonville, Florida. I said, all right, I totally will. So just the conversations, that spark, some nuances and some opportunities. Yeah. So I hope that answered your question. I got a little sidetracked there, but.
Oh, no, that's great. And that's just it is, again, for some people, a resource may be a mastermind. For some people, it may be a particular group of people. Sometimes it's literally just picking up the phone and chatting with a girlfriend, and that girlfriend coming up with an idea that you never would have thought of or anything like that. So no, there are no wrong answers here.
Okay.
So one piece of advice would you give a woman business owner who maybe had just launched or had been in business for a couple years and they were struggling and, kind of felt like they were just all alone out in the universe?
I'm not sure what area they would be struggling in, but I would just tell them never give up. I mean, there's so many of us. I mean, I know are not created for just one thing. I mean, I knew, when we started out in this business, I mean, really own my own wine label, have a company that embraces and talks about and uncorks conversations about menopause and midlife and empty nest. Did I know that was in like my box of tricks? No. Did I think I was going to be a nurse all this time? No. But, I want women to know not to ever give up. I mean, if they have just a little bit of an inkling that they want to do something, go for it. What could happen? It doesn't work out. Well, then do something else. I just never, ever, ever, ever give up, but look for people to help you. We're not built to do everything on our own. I mean, like we talked about the books, I would be nowhere without Shelby. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So just look and find those resources for you, and you're not alone. And find and surround yourself with people that can encourage you, though, too. There's always going to be the naysayers. Oh my God, you have no money and you're starting a wine company. I did hear that. But you know what? It's like, yeah, I'm starting a wine company, and oh my gosh, I'm so excited. You're not stealing my thunder. They always say that you're the sum of the 5 people that you hang around with, and find those people that are going to embrace you, lift you up, encourage you, give you the good, bad, and the ugly. I mean, they'll stick with you. Just surround yourself with those people for sure.
So you've talked a few times here on our call today about Shelby. So tell me, what are some of the roles that Shelby plays in your business?
Oh my gosh. Well, she keeps my books. She manages my money. She books my airfare. She seeks out speaking engagements for me. What else does she do? I mean, like she pretty much plans my life. I mean, we look at a month at a glance, 6 months in advance, and see, what events I want to attend. I'm really big on supporting wine women in shoes, and they travel all across the United States. She looks at my wine inventory on a regular basis. She makes sure that we're compliant with the permits and the regulations and the compliance. So she's pretty much executive assistant straight across the board. I don't have to worry about my travel arrangements and things. She just makes them all. And that's a load off, because I'm out, doing the thing. I'm spreading, the word and uncorking the conversation and getting the speaking opportunities and promoting my wine, across the United States and abroad. So that's kind of my thing.
Well, a lot of times I think women are afraid to hire someone. They don't know if they can be a manager. They don't know what they should have an assistant or someone do to help them. They're afraid to take on that expense. How do you feel like that actually changed your business as you brought someone on to help you?
Oh, 100%. I'm much more present when I'm speaking. I'm much more present when I attend these events. I don't have the worry of transportation to and from a hotel, to and from a speaking engagement. She's got it all dialed in. And so that's pretty big, because I could just be me and share with women wherever I go. And it's such a relaxing feeling. I don't have to worry about it. I don't get uptight about that. So it just goes back to sharing with women that if you're not capable, or if it's just too much of a stress for you, you can always find a way. I live very modestly at home. I don't have to have cable. One, I'm never home to watch TV. There's just things that you could, cut back on and maybe sacrifice a little bit. And if you're fortunate, I'm a single woman, but if you're fortunate to have a significant other that supports you in your business, that's great. Look at both of your incomes together and see where things could be kind of changed a little bit, so you could follow that dream, and also maybe hire someone to do some of the things that would be maybe out of your comfort zone, or something you're not an expert at.
So tell us, what do you have coming up in the next 6 months to a year that you're excited about in your business? And I want you to toot your horn, tell us, where to find you, but tell us kind of what you've got that's coming up that's cool.
Well, a lot of things. I told you I was involved with Wine, Women, and Shoes, so I'm traveling to several states between now and, I guess you said 6 months. I probably have about 4 of those events. Cool. I'm looking forward to going to a gifting suite. I've gone for the last 2 years. There's a gentleman that does a gifting suite prior to the Emmys, and I get to showcase my wine and give wine to celebrities and have photo opportunities. And actually, since I've done it a couple times, I have the ones that come back know me by name, so that's a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yes, I'm also working with a company that now has a cooling band for women. You put it on and boom, those hot flashes are instantly gone. It's a great product that I've been asked to be the spokesperson for. So I'm going to be traveling across the United States with them promoting their product. So I've been hired to do that. So that's great. And some really great speaking gigs. I'm going to be, one which is exciting, speaking at the California Association of Healthcare Facilities, kind of because of my nursing background. I'm going to be speaking at the Director of Nurses Conference that's coming up just next month. And continuing my collaboration with Menopause the Musical in Las Vegas. I love them, and they support me and I support them, and we're going to continue to see that my wine is the exclusive wine at Harrah's at Las Vegas.
Fun.
At their show. Yeah.
So you actually told me about that prior to us pressing record, and I didn't tell you that my husband and I and his sister and aunt went and saw that show a few months ago, and it was really, really funny.
It is pretty funny. If you haven't seen Menopause the Musical, it is by far one of the funniest musicals you will ever see. And men love it. I'm glad you took your husband, because men laugh just as much and thinking, oh my God, what am I in for? Or they're the ones that are like, oh yeah, been there, done that. I could totally relate to this. So it's a great musical. It's a great musical.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. This has been such a joy, and I just really appreciate you taking time out of your day to chat with our listeners.
Thank you, Amy, so much for having me.
Today we talked about the importance of having publicity and getting out in the community in growing your business. So if you would like our free checklist on how to increase your visibility and publicity in your business, please go to lemonadepodcast.com.
Thank you for listening to Turning Lemons into Lemonade, where women go for support and encouragement to hear how other women business owners turn their setbacks into successes to create 6- and 7-figure businesses. We look forward to seeing you next week.